Yeah. So in this presentation or rather discussion, what we'll be doing is I'll run you through uh, for the development process which we follow in Mercury. Now, here's the thing. Before we start, let me uh, what is the right word for it? Uh, Remind everybody that in Mercury, different teams follow different processes, especially some of the client team, the backend team, and the like more of infrastructure teams. They have entirely different process. Even within the client teams, you might find that different teams follow different processes. So there is a possibility that within the stakeholder, the attendees here today, all the colleagues, I'm assuming that you already spent some time in Mercury, and then you might be feeling that, hey, what this guy is talking about, we don't follow that. So if that happens, then yes, that's true because each team has, you know, designed their own process workflow. So yeah, stay with me, and then if you have any question, please do ask. As I said, moving to the next slide. This is a little bit of history. Agile as a development process started in Mercury around 3 years back. That's exactly the time I joined Mercury. So there might be some things which are mentioned in the slide, and I don't know because those were mentioned before even I joined Mercury. So as you can imagine, the agile is a very broader umbrella term, and Scrum is a part of it. Like the more tangible or like more from process point of view. So the first 6 months of our journey to agile was mainly focused on the Scrum. I think you might have already seen. I think most of you might have already seen this this present like chart or like these images, not in the context of Mercury, but like even as a generic. If you Google Scrum or if you Google Agile, you see these things. In the context of Mercury's journey to Agile or like Scrum, we actually started off with the physical boards. So there were teams who were using physical boards, and then every morning session they will stick these sticky notes to doing, done. There will be discussions. Those are the pre-COVID days. And this part actually explains more or less all like cyclic nature of Scrum, where you have product backlog and then which is owned by product owner, and then it goes to different teams, sprint planning meeting, then it like translates to sprint backlog, and then this sprint cycle. These numbers 2, 3, 4, 5. There is one is here. Uh, are ceremonies which happened in the Scrum, Scrum way of working. In the following slides, we will be looking into some of these things into detail. Before we go into this slide, just want to make sure if my pace is correct. Am I audible? Maybe I sound or maybe somebody can tell me that.
Yep,
I,
pretty good so far.
cool. Thank
Yeah.
you. So these are a couple of things as I mentioned. That product backlog was here. Uh, I might be using some terms like loosely product owner or product manager. Even in the teams you're working with, you might see these terms used like sometimes product owner, sometimes product manager. I think Mercury is not very strict with these terms. So yeah, so the person who is responsible for maintaining the list of requirements, arranging them in order of priority, basically talking to business, talking to maybe sometimes CS, is something is a product manager, and then they are the one basically who are owner of product backlog. Sprint backlog is mainly led by owned by Either it can be tech lead, engineering manager, or anybody they have delegated it to. And this is, as name said, sprint backlog, basically the things or the tasks which need to be finished in that particular sprint. Increments as an outcome of the sprint. So I think not much to talk about here. Any question about this? Have you seen these things in your team, or like you don't have one of them? Yeah, yeah. Please feel free to ask me question at any time. So, in terms of ceremonies, so what are these ceremonies? Is again, as I said, that different team have might have their own frequency of these ceremonies, or the way they conduct these ceremonies. But ideally, these product backlog refinements or product backlog grooming meetings happen around every fortnight, once in 15 days. And the content of these meetings is product manager or product owner uh, explains on the order of the priority. They explain about why this feature is important for from Mercury point of view, what KPIs do we expect to improve, and who is the persona, like who is this requirement targeted for, what changes it's going to make. So product manager in these product backlog grooming meetings explain, share this with the team. And when I say team, it is of course product manager is a part of it. I mean, he's the owner, and then engineers, QA team, they are the attendees of this meeting. And also they based on this priority, they make sure that, or they explain to stakeholders that what do they expect in the next sprint. The thing is, this is what the expectation from the product manager. After this product backlog grooming, this requirement will be analyzed by from the different perspective, like architecture perspective, from the technical perspective. It might so happen that if tech lead says that, hey, the effort for this is little too much, we don't have technology for this, we don't have knowledge for this, we don't have endpoint, we don't have uh, anything which is needed for before when they start the development. They can tell product managers that it might not happen in the next sprint, rather it will take more time because of the dependency with external teams. But the outcome of this backlog grooming is the expectation from the product manager point of view. The next is a sprint planning meeting. So this is again, this happens every 2 weeks before the next sprint start. And this is where all the engineers and the QA, they sit together. They talk about the complexity of the feature. They talk about the bandwidth of the feature of the team. They talk about the velocity of the last sprint which has just conducted. And based on like again the expectation, the prioritization which comes from the backlog grooming, they set the scope of the sprint, and then becomes the a sprint goal that becomes a part of sprint backlog. These are pretty standard ceremonies, so I won't read it word by word. I'll just talk about some of them. Sprint review, which is also a kind of a demonstration of the feature from the team to some fixed stakeholders and some guests. So how it works is like, Scrum Master or whoever is playing the role of the Scrum Master invites like some managers. Sometimes we like invite a CPO, sometimes stakeholders from the different teams to demonstrate what they have built, and if they have any feedback to share with the team before the project, I mean this feature is released in the market. When I say market, as in our application. So, and again, as it says that decide if it is releasable or not. If like the team or the developers who build this feature, if they think it's okay, but if from the like end user point of view, or like from the stakeholders point of view, they think that probably the UI doesn't look as appealing or as expected, or if there are some performance issues, then it might so happen, and it has happened that the development team get take the feedback either as a bug or maybe as a new feature improvement for the next sprint, depending upon the nature of the feedback. And that's how usually the sprint reviews are done. So you can imagine it this way, like either product manager or the technical team, somebody will connect their phone to the presentation mode, and they will run through the feature as they talk, and then they will explain that this is what the feature was, and this is what it was supposed to do, and this is what is how it is happening. So that's how it is demoed. Retrospective, one of my favorite ceremony, honestly speaking, in the agile, like the Scrum way of working. It is it becomes unfashionable, honestly speaking. After a certain point in time, team thinks it's repetitive. There's not much value being added through this retrospective, but I feel that these are very important, and team must have this ceremony. They should not skip it. If they think that it is getting boring, it's not much value is being added by this one, then the team can uh, you know uh, take different tools, different methods of running the retrospective to make them interesting and value addition. Yeah, so this is again one of my favorite ceremony from Scrum. Before we get into this part, this is uh, there's a bit of history to it. Actually, in the last 3 years, the Mercury as an organization, we change a lot, and some of the things are still relevant, and they will be relevant no matter how the organization changes. But there is a part to it which probably uh, is not like organization agnostic, which was applicable back then, but not now. I'll mention those things, and you can also ask the questions if something is not making sense here. So what this slide talks about it from the agile point of view, what should we focus on, or what did we focus actually when we uh, like started implementing agile as a development process. So we again, I'm not going word by word. I mean, what we wanted is basically to have a flow of the information gathering, like the requirement gathering, uh, refining those requirements, uh, developing based on those requirements, and releasing. So making a cycle of all these things I mentioned, and making sure that we are in a way getting predictable as as we have more sprints or like more communications of that sort. So the first now looking at the first one, fix all the designs and complete reviews before its sprint planning and dev period. But why? I mean, why should we fix all the design? Why should we fix all the reviews? I'm asking question to myself. The first part I already discussed and like mentioned in the first like previous slide, that if there is a design which needs to go as a part of this particular feature, and if it's not ready, then the team's commitment will not be met. I mean, because there is a dependency. By completed reviews, I think this comes from the experience, some like not so good experience where the team start building a feature, developing a feature later on to realize that the review from the biz side, UIX side, or like CS side was not done. I mean, when you release the feature, and then then somebody from the internal, like or any of these teams, comes saying, hey, hang on, you didn't talk to us. There was part of feature, or like this impacted us, but we never had that communication. So one of the idea of having agile was to integrate all these internal reviews or internal communication process as a part of development process. Not that it cannot be done without agile, but yeah, when agile came, then all these things became more structured. The next is, I guess I already touched about it, like make rhythm for the continuous improvement. Start working on like shorter sprint. So fail fast, improve fast. Having a product backlog, I think we talked about it. measure velocity, story point. We already talked about it. I don't need to go through again unless anybody has any question on this part. Slides. I guess we already touched upon them, so I won't go one by one. But it is more of like plan when product managers or the product owners get the idea, then they start writing the product brief. They start writing the slightly detailed requirements. Then they discuss with the like team and backlog grooming. The design here is, it can be UI UX design. It can be like solution designing from engineering teams. This is the tech design phase, and then the estimation and refine goes together here. It can go together. Some teams might decide to do it like separately. That and by refine here, what I mean here is that if the when product manager initially shared the idea of the particular feature to engineers, and then the engineers might suggest something new, some new different perspective to it, or like maybe there's something which was not very clear in the requirement. Then the product manager goes back, he or she refines the requirement to make it more clear to understand. Then by estimation here, what I mean is like once the tech design is ready, the UI UX design is ready, the team sits together, they start doing the estimation part of it, like is it complex feature? Is it easy feature? Have we done it earlier? Or is it something which we can take it from some other team? Or are there a lot of unknowns? Or there are a lot of dependencies to other teams? Based on that, they start estimating, and then once they have all the information together, they agree on to sprint planning. Then the sprint continues for like couple of weeks, like 2 weeks. Then demo comes right before the release, and then release test, and then release. This is what we talked about, like the sprint finishes here, retrospective design, and then at certain point in time, which again you will discuss, learn in separate session about the release cycle. The team, like the QA team, facilitate the release process. So this is like one page summary of the Scrum life cycle. I'm not very Koashi, not very detailed with the backend side of the releases. The one difference which I think it's is that they release more frequently as compared to the client, because client release goes as a, like either Android or iOS or web release. Web comes here because you have chance to do more frequent releases. You don't have dependency on Apple review or to Android review, Apple, Google review to release. So those are more frequent releases which we see as this green triangle, not triangle, rectangle, the heart, not heart, what do you call it? Yeah, shape, icons. So there's a couple of differences between the client release and the backend releases. Any question or anything which you want to discuss, share with us, the rest of us in this session before we go next. I take it as a no. So these are extension of the ceremonies or the activities or the artifacts for the typical Scrum way of working. Expand prioritization, and what this means is, oops, what do I want? I guess my yeah, no, my AirPods run out, so short on battery. So this is if depending upon the nature of the ticket, nature of the feature, it might need prioritization not from just one team, but also prioritization or like sharing with other teams, dependent teams. So there is a separate process and the need for it. Design sprint is something which is not done, I think, every sprint. This is when there is an idea or any idea which is new, and which needs more detailed discussion, including engineers, including designers, including product managers, including QA. That's where the team decide to take this design sprint way of working, which is, I think, it came from Google and it became famous when this book called Sprint came. So yeah, this is something which team can decide depending on the nature of the particular feature. Yeah, that's already written here actually. Then this is tech design, which is more of like the technical teams, engineers, uh, going back and then discussing, drawing those system diagrams and drawing, getting into the details of like pseudocode or like making those diagrams, as I said, to figure out if they need something from external teams, if there is an additional complexity to it, and then they put together the document, which will eventually help them when they get into the phase of writing the code. And yeah, I think there's these things we don't do all of them, but again, we can read it as later on as well. These are things which we discussed, like estimation, refinement. So I guess I won't go this again. This is again there'll be a lot of I think duplication. This is more detailed, more task level visualization of what we discussed earlier. Like we talked about like planning, design sprint, tech design, release, and then like really sprint and then release. So what happens in each phase, what is done, like creation of the epic and then writing the basic details in the epic, then prioritization by various teams, then yeah, estimation, which we talked about. So yeah, I won't be going through all of these because this is just duplication of what we already discussed recently, or even actually this is how Mercury used to be 3 years back, okay, two and a half. So we I think you all heard about the camp system or like the updated camp system, which has happened like a couple of months back. Before that, this is how it used to be. Like you used to have engineering team, growth team, CRA team, data teams, QA team, MRP team. And these teams were working. It would be politically correct if I say silos, but like more of like focusing on their own OKRs, building, making their system stronger, talking to other when it's needed. That's how it should be actually, but sometimes that needed part used to get late because if they didn't talk about this with the other team, like for example, if CRA team has an dependency with the MERPE, and if it is not made, told to MERPE in the like well within time, well before time, then it might so happen that even though MERPE want to do it, but because of whatever constraints, like resource constraint or like their own OKR constraint, they can't help other team. So because of this dependency, the CRE teams OKRs or like the features they're working on will be impacted. So then the camp system came where the logically similar feature, like for example, if one team has uh, needs help from other team quite frequently, they became part of the same camp, and then the whole the camp restructuring thing started. I'm saying it very loosely. There is more to it. There are more reasons which you can find in Google Doc, like that why camp structure was done, changes were done. So, but yeah, this is how it was before camps, and then it talks about the yeah. Here you go. The challenges among the teams. So, for example, the prioritization. If one team has certain priorities, but if those priorities are not shared with other teams, like dependent teams, then it becomes really messy at best, impossible to work with at the worst to complete the feature on the time. As a solution to that, what camp restructuring was one part of it. That was like from organization point of view. Other thing which PMO team did back then was restructure the process of how the tasks are managed using Jira. So basically, we started working with the different teams who work together, and then we gave each team liberty to to keeping certain things standard to work on their own Jira project. Yet some Jira filters, writing some queries so that teams can visualize the dependencies and the progress in one space, in one place. We'll talk about it, Jira, in the next session. But yes, this is what was done from process point of view when the organization changed from no camp system to the camp system. Yeah, probably there are some more details mentioned in somewhere else, some other slides, which you can check later on. Um, yep, I think this is, we already spoke about it. You can read it again. I won't go through again here. This is, yes, this is what again, I think some teams are already doing it. The camps, not teams actually, the camps, who has multiple teams working under that umbrella, camp umbrella. For the from the backlog grooming, if you see one thing which has changes, sprint planning is happening at like multiple times to be sure that each different teams having the dependency to the feature what one team is working on are clear about the requirement, they're clear about the timelines, basically releasing on the staging. So, for example, if web team, app team has a dependency to the web team or some API, some other backend team, then they need to be talking frequently, like regularly, not frequently, regularly, to be sure that once backend team has like deployed their feature in the staging environment, then it's the time when the client team or the app team can start working on their features so that when they are done, they can use like backend team's staging environment for their testing. So, I think you know these things more than me, like how dependency management works when it comes to developing a feature. But the idea is like having regular communications uh, during the sprint planning and also mid sprint review. And yeah, in this case, the sprint retrospective becomes even more important because it has multiple stakeholders involved. Then each team might have their internal the issues or like the things which not they want to improve. Then when the scale of it becomes larger, then these inter team issues needs uh, more detailed discussions and eventually the solutions for those problems which they faced. So the main focus for this session will be on Jira, and this session will be like relatively shorter. Actually, we won't take the whole hour for this, unless there are questions which I'm more than happy to take and discuss about whatever I know about it. So in terms of ticketing, we at Mercury we use Jira. There, I don't know if I should say there are or if I should say there were teams who were using Monday. Uh, uh, but I think again, as I said, that probably majorly 95% of the Mercury uses Jira. There are backend teams who use, of course, GitHub issues. I mean, the developers can't live without GitHub. Uh, but yeah, there are a few teams who use GitHub issues as well. But Jira is the main tool which we use here. In terms of document, like knowledge management, information management, there are few other options apart from Confluence and Google Doc. I guess I heard that some teams were using Notion, some teams still using Wiki, some teams using Google Issues, or like no, not Google Issues, GitHub documentation, as their document core document. But Confluence is contributes, I guess, 40-ish%. Google Doc is even more than that, for 60 to 70%. There is some overlap also. For brainstorming visualization, we have official contact with Miro. If you want to use it for something and you don't already have it, you can request IT team for this. And then design teams use Sketch, Figma. I think Figma is bought by Adobe. Yeah, yes. So today we will be talking about Jira, and yeah, yep, this is same thing. Some teams use GitHub issues Monday for the tracking their task. There is some overlap between our last discussion about process and then Jira and then Camp Next. What I mean by Camp Next is basically when mm, imagine this way: we have like Mercury before camp and after camp. So before camp Mercury and then camp structure. Then camp structure was further updated, and the next version is what I'm calling as in that camp next. So I think those people who use Jira, like who have used, will know. Even if you don't know, no problem. Uh, the one challenge when we were switching from like no camp structure to the camp structure and basically updating the Jira. So we used to have this big monolith Jira project called MJP. We used to have it, I think. And we used to use MJP for release management. So, and this was happening using a custom field called fixed version. Now, and the fixed version custom field is unique for one Jira project. When you have multiple Jira projects, then you cannot use the same fixed version because, as I said, the fixed version is unique for each project. So there was a need for some way synchronize all these things which each team is doing and then put it in one dashboard so that especially QA knows that what is going into this particular sprint. And then this is when we started using this tool like plugin called Swanly for the release management and visualization and the tracking the progress of each ticket. Now, I know what I said was not easy to understand. So if you understood why do we use Swanly, what was the need for it, how do we use it, fine. If not, then please ask a question and I'll take like 10 seconds pause before I move next. Oh, looks like I was able to explain it clearly in one go. Yep, cool. Then let me go next. Hang on, why I'm not going. This is again, since you all answered my question that you have used Jira in your previous job, then there's no need to go through this ticket structure. This this slide was kept basically or fundamentally to share about Jira with the new grads or the people who come from companies where Jira was not used as a main task management tool. But for us, I think we're good. We all use Jira. This again, this slide comes from the previous presentation where the process of like from the like ideation to release, how it is managed in Jira in the tickets. This is what is shown in this one. So again, we don't need to spend much time here. I think Atlassian has already killed next gen board, or they renamed it as far as I remember. So I need to update this presentation. So we have like Scrum board, we have Kanban board. What they have done is Atlassian has done is they have team managed board and then they have company managed board. But most of us don't need to care about it, especially the engineer or like even EM or like anybody uh, who you just use Jira. You don't need to care which kind of board it is. Admin will create the Jira project for you. And again, just to be sure, I mean, I'm one of the admin. If you have need any help related to Jira or you need any customization, you can reach out to me. I might be able to help you with this. This workflow This FYI is the most important thing. So this is the workflow which PMO back then created as a standard, not a standard, rather a template for each teams to follow. And then each team, based on their development flow, were allowed to make changes if they want certain things or not. There are few things, for example, backlog, done, work in progress. This is what we mentioned that these are the mandatory fields which you cannot change, you cannot rename. Apart from that, like some teams, they were not using awaiting release or awaiting approval as a part of their workflow. There's no need for it, so they were allowed to, bypass or like remove these states from the Jira status. But yes, and as you see that there's a workflow. Right side of it is for development tickets, where a ticket actually goes from like backlog to ready to work in progress, and then review, code review, and then release. And then there are non-dev workflow. For example, Epic. Epic itself is an important ticket, which is a like collection of a lot of stories, but it's never in development. So it's like either done or not done. So or like in progress. In progress is like any of the ticket within as a child of a tick is still work in progress. So these are the two kind of workflows. Again, depending upon the team you work for, you might see the flavor of this workflow and the one in the left. Again, please stop me if I'm going too fast or if I'm not making sense. This is a couple of reporting tools which we use in Mercury. Again, this is not complete. Again, since you use Jira, you already know that there are a bunch of, I think, 25-ish what do you call 25-ish ready-made reporting template which Atlassian has provided. So the one in the left is teams are already started using it. Not everybody use it. It's called Advanced Roadmap Planning, and I use it for my project. I mean, the program I'm managing, and in fact, I tell everybody to use it because this is very such an easy way. You don't need any extra effort, and it can give you a lot of information in one view. We will look into it once I'm done with these slides, and then that how I use it and why I like this tool. On the right, this is more of like we can have pie chart, we can have bar chart using the same data which is there in Jira. So if everybody in the team uses Jira, if you put the information like timely, then what it does is it saves a lot of effort for the static reporting. Again, what I mean by static reporting is somebody like making time to write the reports which needs to be shared to the managers. So if the team, for imagine this way, if the team is each engineer is responsible for one of these tickets, or like if one engineer is responsible for three tickets, and like likewise, then if they put all the information about the tickets on a predefined uh, day of the week, then it becomes easy for a manager or like the lead who is reporting the status of this ticket to the higher management. So it becomes like automated process, basically dynamic reporting process. So the project I'm working for, I'm requesting everybody to start, using Jira more regularly, so that we can cut the cost of like manual reporting. And again, I mean, who doesn't like the pie charts and the like colorful reporting if that's done automatically? And again, as I said, there are other ways, other dashboards which we can use in Jira to create the reports.